expect Jamie Drysdale to play more?
Yep.
You've talked about how he's gone from went from a man-to-man to his own here. What are the maybe the daily steps to get him more acclimated to playing defense the way you
Tape.
Is it a lot of tape?
A lot of tape, and it's not just our coverages. It's just he's a 21-year-old kid playing the hardest position in the game and has not played a lot of games in the National Hockey League just through his injuries and a lot of tape, a lot of conversations. And the only way we're going to be able to teach is for him to play. And we just go through the experiences of making the mistakes or doing good things. So that's going to take some time. There's a lot of things that he needs to work on, but very coachable, and we're knee-deep in it right now.
You haven't shied away. I mean, I'm looking at his ice time. You haven't shied away at all from playing him.
No.
18, 19, 20 minutes.
No, he's going to play, and that's the only way we can find out exactly what he is and what he needs to work on. And that position especially is they need to see things coming at him. They need to see those looks. They need to get reps. And does some really good things, does some things that is going to be corrected and coached.
John, Travis Konechny left practice before you guys went to the opposite side. Do you have any news on him?
I have not talked to the trainers, no.
Okay.
John, you're coaching a lot of young players this year. Are you coaching them any differently than you've coached young players in the past? There's kind of a new generation here, and one of the things that people in the league and people in this organization are delighted with is how far so many of them come so fast.
Yeah, I have coached different. I have to coach differently now, especially with the younger guys, than back in the day, I guess. I think it is a different athlete. I think coaches need to respect that and not fight it. There are some things that I struggle with the athletes. I really do, and that I'm dead against on how sometimes how they act, how they think. So I've got to find a middle road to coach them, to how I treat them, how the conversations go. So it's incumbent upon us as coaches to do that. I think a lot of coaches are going through that in the league. I think in all sports. So yeah, so it's a conversation. It's more empowering them than talking at them. It's more wanting some feedback from them instead of talking at them. Back in the day, you just talk at them, right? Coaches used to talk at players and not allow them to have some pushback or part of the conversation. I want them to be part of the conversation. Having said that, there's a fine line in how much do you give them. That's a big part of coaching, I think, right now with younger players. How much empowerment do you give them? How much leeway do you give them? Much different in coaching the mistakes. Years ago, you'd coach every mistake. Now you can't because there's so many of them, and you need to allow them to make mistakes and kind of pick and choose the more important ones as you're trying to mold them in your concept. So it's more of a two-way street, but also watching yourself, and you don't let them get too far away from you because they will. It's human nature. Okay, he's going to give me this. I'm going to take a little bit more. That's what I watch. And long-winded answer, it's a really good question, especially with the young players because how different they are than they were 5 years ago.
John, why do you think they've responded? Why do you think they've been so productive with this team under you so far?
Well, I think the major reason why the young guys have come along here, I credit the room for that. I think we have a really receptive room. I think we have a very transparent room. And I think there's a level of accountability that comes with it. I'm going to hold players accountable, but the best accountability is based to them by their teammates, and I think we've got a strong room that way. I think that's helped tremendously in the building of our youth.
John, talking about the games that are coming up, not just over this next little bit, but the rest of the year, the fact that you guys are in a playoff race, you're battling for a spot, you're playing against top teams. how much more do you learn about your players in terms of evaluation as compared to, say, this time last year when you were giving young guys a lot of minutes, you were finding things out, but the games didn't have the same meaning as they have now?
Yeah, I thought last year, I thought we had tremendous steps in development. I sometimes hear it was awful to watch them play last year versus this year. I don't look at it that way. I thought we went through a huge couple of steps in building the foundation of the team. Now it is we have a few more wins, right? I think we have played better, playing a little bit different style. Have a little bit of success. Now more responsibility comes to you, and when you're in that 20-game, 25-game situation where you're still playing meaningful games. But it adds responsibility, adds pressure. It's right where you want to be as an athlete, if it's the right athlete that we have here. So there's a short-term goal. Obviously, it's staring us right in the face, but there's also a long-term goal. And in playing meaningful games at game 58 coming up here, it's going to tell us a lot of different things both ways, short-term and long-term. So I couldn't be happier in that we're able to do that here, starting in game 58 and continue. Hopefully we keep on playing meaningful ones because it helps you both short-term and long-term.
Is it less about how many goals a guy scores, and is it more about the approach that you're taking to these meaningful games?
Absolutely. It's about how you find a way as a team to be as consistent as you possibly can. And when you get into these games here, as it's kind of sorting out in the standings, we're taking this game at a time. But I know there's some pretty good competition come ahead of us. Those teams, a lot of those teams know they're in it. They're in, and they're getting ready for playoffs. You're going to see a whole different team. So this is we talk about it, after Christmas, the grind of it and learning how to grind. Now you're going to have to learn to get your level up even higher because teams' level of play is going to be higher because they're getting ready for playoffs. And a number of these teams know they're going to be in. They're not going to say it, but they know it. And so you're going to see a whole different level, a whole different thing in front of you as far as how the little things matter. And that's a very important part of our game, is how much emphasis and concentration and how much ability do we have to make those little things count.
John, last year you guys had a game against the Rangers, and this kind of goes to the big picture process where their fans came in and kind of took over the building, and you talked about we got to get there where our fans are back. Do you feel like you get in the sense that fans are starting to get on board with the process you guys are making?
I hope so. I don't calculate what's going on out in the crowd during the game. I just can't. I'm just not aware of it. I think surrounding our team, I think there's a better attitude towards us. That goes pretty quickly by the wayside when you lose a game, as it just is. That's the way fans are, and so I want to get us to the place, and we're not there. Get us to a place where it's a tough building to come in and play, and I think that's one of the things I think we have not totally grabbed a hold of this year in our development is the home ice. I think sometimes it's harder to play at home ice than on the road, but I want us to have I want the building to be that way, and I sense it. You can feel it come games, but I want that to be a given that people are talking about. Boy, that's a tough place to go into. And the fans are a big part of that, and I think we're on the right rails to get there. We still have a ways to go.
Henrik Lundqvist had a lot of praise for Sam Ersson against Chicago. Is it encouraging for you to have such a legendary goalie say what he said about Sam, and also, you're very familiar?
Yeah, a couple of Swedes.
Yeah.
Swedes. I watch them down there. All the Swedes hang together, and Henrik's a good man and understands the position very well. I think Urs deserves it. I really do. I think he has been put in a situation and how he's handled himself and so young in his career. I think he's done a terrific job. I didn't hear Henrik's comments. You know me with Sam. I think his mindset and his mental toughness is a huge plus for him. And I'm not sure if Hank talked about that. Hank's probably talking about the stuff I don't even know about. But good to hear. And for me, I'm glad. For Urs, even better. I'm sure Urs looked up to that guy as he should have, as far as the way Hank has handled himself and what type of career he had. That's really good stuff for players to hear.
It looks like Tyson Forster's closing in on a return. You didn't have the non-contact jersey out, but you mentioned on Wednesday about maybe not liking a lot of the lines. Getting him back, does that not fully solve that problem? Does that deal with that problem just because of the style he plays?
Yeah, I'll answer it this way. I've missed him on the bench, and not just on a line. I was able to use him right wing, left wing, playing 11 and 7 in a lot of different ways that I never thought I'd feel comfortable with at such a young age that he is. So I missed him on the bench, and where the lines settle, I have no idea, but it's going to be very important. And I'm not sure. I haven't talked to the trainers yet as far as where he's at for tomorrow. But it's going to be very important that he be a big part of this as we go through this stretch run, and he'll end up playing a big part in it.
John, can I ask you one more?
Sure.
About Peterson. What do you expect from him during the stretch run with so many games and such high competition? And where is his game right now?
Yeah. He's found a way to win. He won his last game. It's a guy that I respect because he's in a tough spot. He doesn't play much. He's down in the minors, comes up and plays. Urs is going to get the lion's share of the games, but we need Cal. And there aren't many breaks in the games as far as competition as the schedule's laid out. I am not going to kill Urs. I am not going to run with Urs. And because we're in the hunt here, I'm going to try to do it with Dilly as best we can to make sure Urs isn't burnt out. And Cal's going to play some very important games. I think it's where Cal is in his career, where his career was, and now he's kind of getting another chance at it. I think it's a huge situation for him to show people, and that show me attitude for athletes. I think some of the best motivation you can have, and I think Cal has that. I think a lot of people gave up on him. So he's going to be put in some spots here that he's going to get an opportunity to show.